The pick is in.
Pittsburgh Steelers have made a selection in the 2024 NFL Draft. Alongside Locked On College Football host Spencer McLaughlin, I'm Tanisha Batiste, and we are joined by Chris Carter of Locked On Steelers to break down the Steelers selecting Troy Fautanu with the number 20 pick. So Fautanu was projected to go earlier in the first round, Chris, but what do you think about him being available for the Steelers and actually being taken at 20?
I think it's a dream pick for the Steelers. They've been wanting a prime right tackle to pair with Broderick Jones. Last year, they were very excited to get Broderick Jones. They traded up to get him, but they wanted another elite-type tackle who could be there. And Fautanu, he is one of those road-grading athletic tackles that can get to the second level. He can fly all over the field, and he can bully people off the ball. He doesn't have the length that a lot of people want at their tackle position, but Broderick Jones does have that. Broderick Jones played right tackle this past year because Dan Moore Jr. couldn't move to right tackle. I think what's going to happen is Broderick Jones is going to move to left, and it'll be between Dan Moore Jr. and Fautanu for the right tackle position. The Steelers get their guy. On my board, Fautanu was the 14th best player on my big board. I loved what he brought to the table. I didn't think he would be there. I thought they might end up drafting Fuaga. He went 14th. He was the one that ended up going 14th to the Saints. But this, to me, this is a big need for the Steelers. It's a big get for the Steelers. They now have two guys that I think graded out very well coming out of their draft classes at the tackle positions, which we know is a prime important position in the NFL today.
And, the Steelers are known for having a good eye for the guys in the trenches, both on the O-line and the D-line. But let's talk O-line. How do you think Fautanu fits with the Steelers, both in that pass protection and in run protection as well?
I think that Fautanu, he has a lot of fundamentals down. I think that's one thing that they love about him. He's also a very heady player. Also, I have to say this on top of the scheme parts of it. It was awesome. It's always awesome to see the emotion from the guys, but Fautanu, he was a Steelers fan growing up because he loved Troy Polamalu. He's talked about he used to wear the Troy Polamalu jersey growing up, being a Samoan heritage. That, I think, was really special for him to get that moment. But I think that what the Steelers are getting is they're getting a smart, athletic, tough player who can be on the right side. And let's face it, the Steelers just got a new offensive coordinator in Arthur Smith. Arthur Smith is not going to do what he did with the Falcons. I think he's going to try to go back to what he did with the Titans, and that's being a road-grading offense. They've got Najee Harris. They've got Jalen Warren. Last year, once Broderick Jones became a consistent starter for the Steelers in Week 10, from that time on, the Steelers had the number 2 rushing offense in the NFL, only behind the Baltimore Ravens, and that's with Dan Moore at left tackle and Mason Cole at center. I still believe the Steelers have a hankering to get a center in this draft class, maybe even will trade up in the second round to get a Jackson Powers Johnson or a Zach Frazier, depending on who's still available. The first round is still playing out as we're recording this. But getting tackle was the priority over the center, and they got that player in the first round in Fautanu.
Now, you talk about an offensive coordinator in Arthur Smith who's been very successful over the years in developing the O-line. So what do you see maybe as that one area where Smith can develop Fautanu for him to be ready for day one?
I think the Steelers want to have offensive linemen that move all over the place. If you go back to even how the Steelers ran the ball back in the Todd Haley days with Le'Veon Bell, you saw offensive linemen pulling from every position. Pouncey and DeCastro would pull at the same time. Marcus Gilbert used to pull. Ramon Foster used to pull. Alejandro Villanueva. And the thing was that as a defense, you could not predict who was going to pull off of their position and then be turned into a lead blocker. And that made the Steelers' run game of the mid-2010s extremely dangerous. Even when Le'Veon Bell was hurt and they had to go with guys like D'Angelo Williams, I think that's what this offense wants to get back to being. They want to be a dominant run offense that can play off it with the pass. And now that to do that, they had to invest in this offensive line, and they still have to. I still think they need a center. That right now their center, if they started today, would be Nate Herbig. That ain't going to get the job done. They got to go get a plug and play center. I understand that they see a handful of guys being players like that. Zach Frazier, Jackson Powers Johnson, maybe Cedric Van Pran in that list as well. But tackle is the more important position to them because to them, I think they want to get back to what they did in the 2010s and where it wasn't exactly the tackle position that they lit it up, but they had 2 to 3 anchors on their offensive lines in their best years there. Marquise Pouncey, David DeCastro, and for a time, Marcus Gilbert before he got injured. I think right now they have 2 anchors for the future and potentially Fautanu and Broderick Jones. Now they want to get one more. They get that guy at the center position. I think this offensive line's raring to go, and it changes everything about the outlook of this team.
For more on the Steelers, subscribe to Locked On Steelers on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. And when we look at him, Spencer, what do you think is the best side of what Fautanu has to offer?
I think his athleticism is off the charts. You look at the way he pulls off the offensive line to go kick out on a linebacker, safety, or God bless, a corner that has to get in the way of him coming out on the edge. He is a crazy good athlete. Now, he's not the longest guy that you're going to have playing at a tackle position. I wonder if the Steelers decide to slide him to guard. I can't say I know, as well as Chris does what their needs are in the interior, but certainly he's someone who has that sort of positional versatility. He moved between left and right tackle during his time at Washington, played mostly left this past season, but I think he's a guy that, can just clear people out of the way in the run game, and when he's able to really set his feet and explode off the line of scrimmage, he's a really, really good player, and I think his athleticism, again, is what makes him an elite prospect.
For continuing coverage of the 2024 NFL Draft, subscribe to Locked On NFL on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.